And opinions expressed are those of the panelists and do not reflect in any way those of the podcast partners, sponsors, or affiliates. Enjoy.
ThaBoxingvoice.com. All the guys want. I want what Mayweather got. I want what Mayweather got. He done bust your ass like Mayweather. I was trying to fight every fighter. I sacrificed a lot
Productions
to get to where I got to.
What do you bring to the table?
Let's get this on. Let's do it. Well, it's like this. Wait.
All right, that's it. Hold on. Bernard, everybody calm down.
Man, you know how these bitches is in the sport. Total disrespect. Kid has no class, no style at all.
Kid has no class, no respect at all. Shout out to TBE. You're now rocking out with TBV. In the morning, yes, it's me, NEST. Yo, I'm really flowing. I'm telling you, we're going to have Nazim Richardson on. It's going to get ugly. He is the man to train the man to drop Tyson Fury in the U.S. So we're going to be talking to Nazim Richardson, picking his brain on the Wilder Fury fight. But the subject at hand, the reason that we will be here discussing boxing and what we'll be keeping Nazim Richardson on topic with is Tyson's Fury statement. And he claims that after he beats Deontay Wilder, he will be staying in the U.S. to be the next pay-per-view star. And I quote, "After I win the WBC belt, I will be staying here. You won't see me fighting in England again. You heard it here first," added the 30-year-old. "Once I beat Wilder, I will be the next big pay-per-view star in America, the land of opportunity." Well. This is what we'll be discussing. If you're interested, you know the number to call in, 1-425-569-5241. And you can add Nestor Gibbs on Skype. Why type when you can Skype?
Terminated.
Let's get on out to my co-host in Indiana.
I speak it, believe it, receive it. Speak it, believe it, receive it. Speak it, believe it, receive it. I can't say it enough. I speak it, believe it.
Two attempts, handed bands over. Sicko hit, shot and miss. Two to stand over. Turn up. Breadwinner, huh? Look who in the building. Let me check my Instagram. I might be at 1 million. And I'm in.
ThaBoxingvoice.com.
Yo. What's up, baby? Tyson Fury again, man. He's back at it, bro. This guy makes the news every week. He says if he wins, he's going to be the next American pay-per-view star. One thing that the guy does have, he doesn't have the mouth to try to pull that off, but I don't know if he has the tools for victory. So does this mean when he loses, he goes back to the UK? I don't know, man. We'll find out. But what's going on, this?
I mean, the main question is, will the UK even accept him after, saying that, yo, I'm not coming back. Once I win, I'm staying here, the land of opportunity, kind of bigging up the U.S. Mind you, all these quotes were coming from an interview done with the Daily Mail after Tyson revealing that he was heavily strip searched and basically scrutinized when trying to enter into the U.S. But after all the singing, dance, and the 4-hour wait, he was allowed in. And then this statement came. So I guess he likes good old America. I mean, he has said that he's been enjoying Big Bear. And, then he obviously enjoyed his time down in the wild card. But let's think about it realistically, right? Like, fuck it. If he beats Wilder, hypothetically, Saturday he beats him, what's his next U.S. pay-per-view fight?
I would probably say Luis Ortiz, if they could get that made. Maybe a Wilder.
You said Ortiz. Let's elaborate. Why Ortiz?
He's on the undercard, and he's one of the top heavyweights on the Al Haymon stable. So, kind of makes sense, doesn't it? I would say the Wilder rematch probably makes the most sense, though.
Now look, I agree. rematch makes sense, but that's too easy of an answer.
Okay.
There's a lot of sheep in there saying, oh, rematch, duh. Like, of course, the rematch will be on pay-per-view. That doesn't make him a star. What I'm saying is, or what he's saying is, after beating Wilder, he'll be a U.S. or he said the next big pay-per-view star. So whatever he does next should be on pay-per-view. Now, like you said, Luis Ortiz is an obvious pay-per-view opponent for Wilder should he win. So I think, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. If Tyson wins, Luis Ortiz is an equal pay-per-view opponent for Tyson Fury. Plus, I think it's a dangerous fight.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like Ortiz is a very, very skilled boxer, and I believe that he may have the power to, like, you know what I'm saying, to put Fury down, because I feel like the Fury is not going to, like, necessarily go out there and outbox a Ortiz because of the boxing pedigree that he has. But as far as power go, I mean, I took the scales to Ortiz, and also a fight that could possibly happen in the States. Joshua needs a person to fight over in the States, right? If you want to be the next pay-per-view star, why not start off like that?
Well, that's another obvious choice. You think maybe it doesn't make sense for Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren to put together two UK guys in the US, even though it's probably where it would generate more money. Maybe they still need to introduce AJ to the public, the US public. But I do believe if Fury won and he went the Luis Ortiz route, then after Luis Ortiz, yeah, I think he can get AJ to come to the US and fight here. Now, there's people in the comment section saying, man, you guys are crazy. Don't you get it? Fury's not a star. Well, again, we're going off his statement and we're hypothetically assuming he wins based off his statement. So I want to believe beating Deontay Wilder will do something for his profile the way that Wilder beating Ortiz did something for his, no?
Yeah, I totally agree, man. If Fury wins, he might go on a fucking American press tour. I mean, we already seen him do with Joe Rogan and shit, so he might go and do other shit. I mean, Fury's a smart guy and he knows how to sell himself to the public. So I think I don't even like talking about this guy winning, to be honest with you, but I think this I think he has the tools to make the American public like him. If not all of them, then maybe a strong demographic of them, because it's well known that he does like Donald Trump. So,
I hate addressing corny comments, let alone corny comments that aren't even super chats. But like every now and then we have to educate. We got about 7 minutes before we get Nazim Richardson on, the trainer of Steve Cunningham, trainer Sugar Shane Mosley Jr., numerous others, legendary trainer, the only trainer to train a fighter to knock down Tyson Fury here in America, will be on the show with us in about 7 minutes. But from the comment section, he who will remain nameless says, why does Luis Ortiz get so much hype on this channel, yet Andy Ruiz doesn't? Both lost a title shot and have similar resumes. He's absolutely right about similar resumes, except that Luis holds the Brian Jennings win. Ruiz does not have a Brian Jennings win. Ruiz also struggled in his title shot, whereas Wilder and Ortiz, people are interested in the rematch, and some believe Ortiz was jobbed in the 7th round. I'm just playing devil's advocate, but there is a consensus that believes Ortiz wasn't given a fair shake in that 7th round. So yeah, comparing Andy Ruiz Joseph Parker fight, or Andy Ruiz's resume, to the one of Luis Ortiz that at least has, the Brian Jennings win and the Deontay Wilder fight, it's just not comparable. Tell Andy Ruiz to do something. He has not done something since the vacant title fight with Joseph Parker. That was his one and only time stepping up, and it was because it was a title on the line. Come on, brother, read between the lines.
I totally agree. I mean, he haven't fought He fought like once this year on ESPN Plus, and the fight kind of like went out and then came back in within like the 8th round, something like that. But he hasn't been that active to like get enough push or pub from any major outlet until he gets back in the ring and start fighting these guys. And he's calling out guys, but he's not calling out the right guys.
Same old Top Rank story that we talked about yesterday. These guys sign a Top Rank, and then their promoter can't get them any fights.
Yeah.
He's on IG begging for fights, just like Crawford.
All right, man. No, we ain't gonna do this. You can't put Andy and Crawford in the same sentence, man. It's two different type of fighters, two different levels and two different playing fields right now. Andy should talk to Bob and try to.
Yeah, he should talk to his promoter. Him and Crawford could sit down, talk to Bob, and find out what's going on. But another pay-per-view fight I think is out there for Fury is Big Baby Miller. Big Baby Miller. I mean, I thought Big Baby Miller was a pay-per-view fight for Deontay Wilder. I think Big Baby Miller is a pay-per-view fight for Anthony Joshua. And if he is for both of those men, if Tyson wins, well, it's obvious that he is a pay-per-view fight for Tyson Fury. Now, Big Baby Miller versus Tyson Fury, I think is just as exciting, if not more exciting, because we know that Big Baby's known to cross the line. Fuck push the limit. He crosses the line. So maybe the verbal assault between Big Baby and Tyson will be explosive and generate more interest. But those are my top 3 main. If I'm Fury, I beat Wilder, and I'm a pay-per-view star. I think these fights don't have to happen in that order or in the order that we mentioned. But I think having any one of these fights after a Wilder win will be pay-per-view for Tyson Fury.
Could another now listen, hear me out. Could another network come in and if the rematch clause isn't there, or after the rematch, and God forbid this guy wins twice, but could another network come in and say, Tyson, you don't have to be a pay-per-view star anymore. We got enough of a bag over here for you.
Of course, bro, but that's all going to depend on whatever contract he has or has expired.
I mean, I don't think I don't really think that he has a multiple fight deal with Showtime, but I could be wrong.
Got something because they streamed his last 2 fights.
Yeah, but they streamed AJ first couple fights too, and then like when
they streamed AJ's 2 or 3 years worth of fights, and they had a deal with him that was publicly noted that his last fight was the before Povetkin, and that's why there was negotiations.
And like I said, I mean, there's nothing that came out that says that Fury is contractually signed with Showtime.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. There was nothing that said Anthony Joshua was until
Eddie said it
until the last time that he fought, and it was like his contract is up now.
Eddie was like, we got a couple more fights here with Showtime, and then after that, we'll maybe start looking to other things. Like there's nothing.
I just don't think that it would be intelligent. That's all. I mean, this is a business, But I could be. Someone could play devil's advocate and say, well, Showtime has a bunch of fighters that aren't contractually obligated to them, right? There's other fighters that are out there, big names that say they're just loyal.
Hey, that's all I'm saying, man. I don't know if what happens with his contract, but if he could somehow beat Wilder and possibly have a fight with Big Baby or Joshua on another network, that would be fucking bad for Showtime for not, having this guy under contract. But if he's talking about being a pay-per-view star, then he's on the right network, and I think that it's not really, man. It's gonna be tough to make pay-per-view without Big Baby and Wilder and Joshua, because everybody else is just like they're not going to have the same equal promoting of the fight, because Ortiz doesn't really know English that well, and Dillian White, I mean, even though he's good, he's not a name over here in America. So I just think that Fury is is doing what he always does, and that's make
I
headlines.
think Fury, like I said, Fury Big Baby probably gets more hype than Wilder Fury. But I'm gonna go ahead and cut to the back, get Nazim Richardson on. So, man the boat.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think Big Baby, man. See, Big Baby, he's a wild card, right? Because we all know. Sorry about that.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. So we have a special treat this morning. Trainer, world-renowned trainer of Sugar Shane Mosley Jr. in the Big Contender Series. Obviously, Steve, USS Cunningham, none other than Nazim Richardson. Nazim, good morning, and thank you for taking the time out to talk a little bit of boxing here with the Boxing Voice and all our listeners. How have you been?
I'm holding on both hands. Doing nothing special. Just an old man trying to keep the lights on. That's all.
Well, just want to
Thank you
say
for having me.
thank you for coming on, and want to say you did a phenomenal job on the Contender Series. Shane Mosley Jr. definitely showed that he was receiving that tutelage from you, and just a good role that you played in terms of mentorship on the show. It was good seeing you there, and hopefully they bring you on for another season. I want to introduce you to my co-host Michael Gross this morning, just so you know that there's more than one person speaking to you this morning. Mike,
How's it going, Mr. Richardson?
Hey, how you making out, Mike?
I'm doing pretty good, sir. Thanks for being on.
Oh, thank you for having me.
so let's get right into it. Tyson Fury comes out and says after he beats Deontay Wilder, he'll be staying in the U.S. to be the next pay-per-view star. So obviously we'll go ahead and, jump into his hypothetical world and assume that he beat Deontay Wilder on Saturday. Can you see him being a U.S. pay-per-view star, Mr. Richardson?
Tyson Fury is very vocal, very animate, and he can fight. Extremely big man. And now we can't gauge whether or not you can be a pay-per-view star. We can gauge whether or not you can draw some attention and get on the networks. Because bottom line, if he continues to win, he draws attention. Now with a win over Deontay Wilder, and I told him this in person. I saw him while he was in camp, and I told him, I said, listen, this fight determines who's the biggest, baddest man in boxing. You can. It's the old title that Tyson used to yell and Larry Holmes used to yell. I'm the baddest man on the planet. At this fight, and taking nothing away from Sure, and I mean, just pronounce his name incorrectly. The other kid, Joshua, Big Baby Miller, takes nothing away from these guys, but the man who wins this fight has the resume to be called the biggest, baddest guy in boxing. Because either Tyson Fury will have a win over Deontay Wilder and Klitschko, or Deontay Wilder will have a win over Tyson Fury and King Kong. And that's enough to be called the biggest, baddest heavyweight out here. Nobody else has a resume of that sort.
What's the biggest thing that you remember from
people you star? That's up to the people. That remains to be seen.
What's the biggest thing that you remember from Tyson Fury when he fought SS Cunningham?
He was big. And he actually got mad at me because I kept referring to him as a very big man. Because at the time I was like, you're a very big man. I mean, to me, he needed a win over Klitschko. He needs a win over Deontay Wilder to start showcasing the talent. Because, okay, we know big doesn't make it in boxing, but when you're Shaquille O'Neal big, it is a factor. When you're extremely bigger than even the other heavyweights, it is a factor. So the thing we talk about heavyweights, man, we throw this word great around so loosely. Everybody has great is like, to me, it's like love when it comes to our sports. Love is determined by the eyes of the beholder. How we see, how we feel about things. Every individual has their definition of it. And I feel that way about great. To me, a great fighter is when a fighter starts winning fights nobody expected him to win. This is how the Mayweathers became great. This is how the Pacquiaos became great. This is how the Alis became great. When you look at Sonny Liston, this man was not supposed to beat Sonny Liston. And then he came back and you looked at Joe Foreman, this man was not supposed to beat Joe Foreman. So these are the things that made these guys great. When adversity was against you and this guy could even be the pick over you and you beat him. And I used to say that a long time about my good buddy Tyson, who I love to death, man. I thought he was one of the best fighters in the world. But when I used to say great, I used to be like, well, dang, everybody asking Tyson to fight. I thought he was supposed to be. You know what I mean? So and the guys, when I saw him come up against the guys like Holyfield that I wasn't sure of, he didn't get past them. You know what I mean? But so longevity can make it also. You know, you get guys who just stick around so long and fight everybody. You know what I mean? But I don't know, Tyson Fury, when he fought Steve, he was just such a big man. And I'm biased, but he was such a big man. I correct myself. There's one thing that I did grow to know about him. He wanted to be out there. You know, they talk about how well he boxes and how well he moves it. And he kept telling me that. I said, you're a big man. And he started getting upset with me. And he went out and he tried to box for Steve. And he tried to do this and do that. And Steve put him on his ass. Now, the thing I was impressed with, when he got up, he stopped all that nonsense. And he went on and fought like a big man. Stopped all that nonsense. He grabbed Steve. He laid on Steve. And he put the big man on a very small man. And that's what you're supposed to do if you're the bigger man. You know what I mean? That's the reason why we got weight classes. You know what I mean? So that's the one that I didn't learn about him. He made that adjustment. He knew when to stop doing the show and get down to the fight.
Now, I've heard you on interviews with Joseph Goodman, our Philadelphia correspondent, say that you feel Wilder is something special. Can you just elaborate and then go ahead and give us your prediction for Saturday night?
I don't have predictions, man. I know these other coaches do. I give you my opinion. But Wilder is something special. Wilder is extremely gifted. You know, and I consider Wilder to be a friend, and I consider Mark Wheeler to be a friend. I love his team. I love what they're doing with him. Wilder is special on a simple fact. And I don't mean no harm when I say this. He knows this. But on a simple fact, I was in Miami, and the crowd was getting on me because they knew I was friends with Wilder. And Tyson and King Kong was fighting. Oh, my God, our guy's going to kill you. You know, you da 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 da. And I said, okay. And I'm just being quiet because I'm outgunned. So please, have your words. And then he said, you know King Kong is better than Deontay? I said, yeah. And pretty much so is everybody else that he knocked out. There's very few people that Wilder knocked out. Stavern, their mechanics are better than Wilder's. You know what I mean? So, like I said, my opinion is that Fury being such a big man, and he likes to be cute, and he has a lot of athleticism, and he's enjoying himself. And that's the greatest thing about him in boxing, is that you see a guy that really looks like he's having fun doing this, and he's enjoying himself. And I said I could easily see him winning every round, right up to Deontay knocking him out. It wouldn't surprise me if he was ahead in the fight.
Now, since Wilder hasn't like taken that traditional route to like boxing or whatever, do you think that he suffers not getting the fanfare like a Mike Tyson or a Vander or a Lennox did back in the day?
You say he might not get what?
The same fanfare that those guys did back in the day, even though he's getting in the ring and knocking guys completely out.
He won't get the fanfare as quickly as they would have. You know, the guys that come on from our Olympic program, guys that we're getting familiar with from the time they're young, those knockouts that he had now would have lifted him up to a higher status as far as attention. But whereas we know in boxing, If you just continue to keep winning and stay consistent in your winning, people will come around. The people will get to know you. They'll get to, just may have to stay at the project a little longer. You know what I mean? Because, he knocked Stavern out, and Stavern never put his hands down. Nobody pays attention to that. This man had his hands high, a high guard, the entire fight, and he still knocked the man to sleep. That's exceptional. Guy come back the corner, what do you tell him? Get your hands up. That's an exception. And like I say, he's a little awkward, and I tell people he fights like somebody knocked his drink off the table, and he said, they said they ain't gonna pay for it. He barroom fights, but he gets it done. He delivers what he delivers. Guys respond to it. And he's got little wrinkles that he's brilliant in them. And this is a hard task for Mark Breland and his coaching staff. This is a hard task. The reason why it's so hard to train a guy like Deontay Wilder is because he can get the problem. He can go wrong. Your teacher tell you, show me how you got the answer. He can go the wrong way and still come up with the right answer. So you're telling him, hey, man, put your elbows in and take a quarter step and stay behind the jab. And he gets frustrated in what you're telling him. So he goes up there and cracks the guy in the head and knocks him out. Would you come back to the corner? Would you go say he was wrong? You can't say he was wrong. So you tell the teacher, if you show them, I don't know, I went about the wrong way to get the answer, but they can't say that your answer is wrong. They just can't do it. Not if the number is right, not if the outcome is right, and that's what Deontay is. So in that point, I don't want people to look and think that Breland and them got it made. Oh God, if I just had a kid that could punch like that, man, I could be this, that, and the other thing. I'd look like a great trainer too. No. It's not that easy with a kid like Deontay Wilder. These guys are really working, and his wrinkles are growing. He did little things. He held on when he needed to hold on. We saw him do that. His inexperience, he should have went down against King Kong. We know that in the boxing world. He should have went down and cleared his head. His inexperience and his toughness showed you he wasn't going to go down. He just refused, and that's a little bit on the inexperienced side. These young guys, sometimes they want to prove their heart when they should be just demonstrating their skill. But that's going to happen. But it ain't bad to know that you guys got that kind of heart. That's the one thing for sure. It ain't bad to know that. As Tyson Fury, he got up from Steve Cunningham. He may not been as hurt as the guys they put down, but he got up and still went to the right thing. He got up and made the adjustment. Let me get off this cute stick and move thing and grab this little man and beat him.
So Nas, sticking to the same subject, right? Like as a trainer, you're telling us, well, Breland and Jay Diaz, they don't have it made because their man has power. But I feel like they get criticized because their man is Windmill Wilder. He's so wild. He's untraditional. So how does the team deal with, I guess, the scrutiny and the criticism from the public, the world, because he's not traditional?
Well, here's the thing, man. We're so quick to forget. We're so quick to forget, man. Like I was telling somebody the other day about Mikey Garcia. We forget that there wasn't a 140 weight class at one time. If you was going up, you went from 35 to 47. We were so quick to forget that the Pacquiao jumped up. We're so quick to forget that Shane jumped over and fought the baddest guy in the weight class, one of the baddest in history, Oscar De La Hoya. So I look at that in the sense that, like I say, we talking about people forgetting that you don't remember the criticism that Muhammad Ali got for having his hands down and pulling out with his chin up. You don't remember the criticism. He used to get criticism. When you look at the way this guy, he's driving his hands and he's pulling out with his chin up in the air. It's criticism. That was unorthodox. That wasn't the norm. That wasn't the way we were teaching in the gyms at the time. And now we say greatest of all time. So the one thing you find about society, you can do a lot of wrong. And if you stay to your own twist and force society to accept it, they got a tendency to come around. I said that last night I turned on the television, I saw a movie about Johnny Dillinger. Johnny Depp was playing it. You know what I mean? He's gangster.
Great movie.
And there's more movies on John Dillinger than there probably is on Dr. Martin Luther King. I know there's more movies about Al Capone than there are about George Washington. But people will come around and accept it, man. They even celebrate it after a while. And sometimes it's wrong. It's all wrong, but somehow they make wrong right. So Deontay, yeah, he gets wild. But ask anybody who watches him, are you excited? What Russell Crowe say in the movie, are you not entertained? You still sit there and watch it. You know what I mean? Because he delivers the one thing that most people are looking for in boxing, man. He can close the show early. See, I don't care. The other day I watched Pittsburgh Steelers blow a team out. They played all 4 quarters. See, in our sport, well, if you're that superior to the other opponent, we ain't got to stay here all night. We can go do something else. We can get back to the house and trim them bushes we're supposed to trim or take that trash out. We can go do something else because we go home early. There's no reason for us to see a guy that's so much better than the other guy and we still got to sit here for 12 rounds. So, yeah, I think I know for that. But like I say, he's still carrying that 10-pound weight on the right side of the wrist.
Absolutely. I kind of want to change gears here for a second. I want to know how proud you were of Spice and what's next for him after the Contender.
The Contender was an unusual, unique situation for me because I'm cut from the cloth for the older school, whereas though our trainers didn't even want us walking over there sitting with guys we may be fighting or going, you know, let them be over there and we over here, you know. Then the train and the trainers doing so many interviews together and the fighters are hanging out and Spicy. I was past Spicy before he started throwing punches. I met this kid one time when he's about 18 years old and this kid told me, Brother Nazim, man, I don't even know why I was born so fortunate. That's what you mean. He said, man, look at the dad I got. Look how he takes care of my family. And when I saw how appreciative this kid was, I was like, wow. And I say the same thing about him that I've always said about his daddy, and I always said about Steve Cunningham also. I said they're great human beings that just happen to know how to fight. The fighting part of Steve Cunningham, of Spicy, of Shane Mosley Sr., the fighting part is the understory. If you did a story about Steve Cunningham, the boxing is the least part of him to me. To me, that's the least part of Steve Cunningham. I see the same thing in Shane. Now, Shane's is a little closer. His career was so dynamic that maybe there's a movie story there, but it's the human beings that they are, the kind of guys that they are. They're such great guys. We've been around some fighters who can fight. And even when the lights and the cameras come on, they can turn on the charm and all that. But we've all been there if you've been in boxing long. But you know, when you go in the back room with them, these guys are assholes as a human being. You know what I mean? Their personality, they're really assholes. As soon as the camera come back in the room, they perk up and they become the television guy again. But they're really they're bad characters, man. I mean, bottom line, they do dirt. They tell people lies. They tell you anything to get through. You know what I mean? Anything to be celebrated, but they're not genuine dudes. Steve and these guys are genuine human beings. They're ambassadors of boxing, man. Spicy, I hope does well in the future of his game because he's good. He's great for boxing. He's the kind of guy that the kids can watch boxing and see the kind of guy he is. You know what I mean? And I got on his case because sometimes people beat him up so much about following his footsteps, and you know sometimes he tries to prove toughness because he is a tough kid. too tough sometimes. You know what I mean? I'm like, son, stay behind your skills. Don't prove you tough. Stay behind. This is called prize fight, not pride fight. I mean, we know you got heart when you stepped in the ring and stepped in there. I told him in the Contender, the day one when we came in there, I said, you have one of the biggest advantages. Because everybody was talking about how everybody's targeting him. I said, you have one of the biggest advantages in that when they finally wake up, you're going to be in the finals. And the one kid that beat him in the finals was the only kid that I worried about in a sense because he was like, we're friends. So I was like, being friends, that means he knows not to sleep on you. And I knew that would have to show later on. And the thing about Spicy is, see, there's people in boxing and they can say they're friends, but they can still go out there and punch you in your eye until your nose bleeds. Spicy's not built like that. That's why I was really, he don't have a mean bone in his body. So I knew facing a friend would be a little bit of a problem for him. We just tried to get him past it. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, it didn't fall our way. He also an outstanding young kid by the name of Brandon Adams. He fought his butt off for the great fight that night.
Well, Nas, I want to thank you, obviously, for taking out the time to talk a little bit of boxing with us. I know it's early in the morning. Don't want to keep you too long. And just want to, leave you with a good memory of TVV. This way we could have this as a reoccurring thing. We definitely appreciate your knowledge and just sharing that with our listeners. So once again, thank you for your time. Mike, I don't know if you got anything else. If not, I guess
great job on the Contender and great job, and thank you for your contribution to the sport of boxing.
Oh, man, thank you guys, man. I celebrate all ambassadors of boxing from the positive. And I need to ask you guys a quick question because I know you have more information than me. Somebody ran up on me the other night, a fight. I had a fighter, Carl Duggan, fought in Atlantic City. He's trying to make his return after 3.5 years. But at his fight, someone mentioned to me something about 6 guys didn't show up for drug testing.
Yeah, that's
and they have fights coming up.
There's an article floating around saying that a few of the 2 Charlos and a couple of other fighters didn't sign up for VADA. But I mean, that's the same thing that happened with the Laura incident, and then it was quickly turned around. Some of these people's forms just haven't gotten there. We'll just have to wait and see. But it's more not about them testing positive, more about them not signing up for the VADA test.
Yeah. Not signing up. Yeah. Okay, yeah. I was just that you hear, as soon as you hear this doping thing, man. Because for years I was the most ignorant guy being in boxing, but I was still ignorant in dealing when they talk about the drugs and stuff, because many people would say, oh, this guy's on drugs. I'm like, well, boxers don't want to be bigger and stronger. Boxers are always cutting weight, trying to go down in weight. So I wasn't privy to the fact of how guys were using it to benefit in boxing. And now as years go on, you see that it's affected our sport to a degree. I've had 2 of my heavyweights, the same guy tested positive against both of them. And then he tested positive against somebody else. I said, well, he just looked like he paid for his bottle of stuff, and he's not going to stop until it's all gone. You know what I mean? And I was like, you guys that are doing, putting positive stories out, man, and getting things out, man. I mean, we appreciate it. Like I said about the Contender, man. I wasn't used to mixing with the enemy like this, man. It was a great dynamic, man. I found Fitch and some of these guys who were on the other team, man. I fell in love with these guys, man, and their personalities. And it was, as long as they're showing the positive side of boxing, man, I think we move forward because we're all under the same umbrella, man. We're part of the same craft, and we all benefit from it when it's great, and we all feel the pain when it's sore. You know what I mean? So I thank you guys. I thank what you're doing and the time that you're taking out. And I know how important every piece of the puzzle is for us to have a great sport. So I appreciate you guys. And yeah, if I'm available, man, just call me, man.
Well, thank you again,
I
Mr.
share my
Richardson.
opinion. Thank you. Like I said, my opinion, $5 will get you a sandwich at Subway, depending on how much the sandwich costs. I mean, but I will offer it if you ask for it. Thank you, guys. Have a good evening and a great day if you can.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
There you have it. Nazim Richardson, world-renowned trainer, legendary in this sport, and definitely just a jewel dropper, bro, gem dropper. But guess what? We got some jewels and gems to drop, secret little stuff. Those in the chat are already aware. We got Paulie, Magic Man, Malinaji. Listen, this is a wake-up call to all you dudes sleeping. TBV in the morning is a real thing. You better set your fucking clocks. 9 a.m. We're going hard every day, 5 days a week with the morning show. We're going to be the new Charlemagne the God in the Breakfast Club. All right, we're doing our own thing over here. So we're going to go ahead and pass the keys of the ship to Mike while I jump in the back and get Malinaji so we get some quality boxing talk on Tyson Fury, thinking that if he beats Wilder, he could be a pay-per-view star. I'll be right back, Mike.
Man, y'all heard it. We got the motherfucking Magic Man. Y'all know, man. Paulie has a outgoing personality, outspoken opinion. You know what I'm saying? He don't let nobody slide. He didn't let AB slide. He didn't let Canelo slide when he had his little shit going on. Paulie always keep things 100, and he always tells it how he sees it. And at the end of the day, you got to respect somebody that does it like that. And also, he has I don't know what's going on with his podcast though. He had a podcast called The Magic Hour with what's his guy's name? I forget his guy's name, but it's a damn good podcast though. But I don't know if those guys are still doing it or not. But Paulie, one of those guys in boxing that we all should be thankful for, because he can break down a fight probably better than or just as good as most people in the business. So whenever you're watching a Showtime event, Paulie actually lets you know what he sees and how he sees it and why fighters are doing certain things. So at the end of the day, man, I'm overly excited for this guy to be on the show and ready to talk about some boxing with him and ready to see what he thinks of the whole Fury and Wilder thing. And I might even ask him about Conor McGregor and you know what I'm saying, is that a possible match for him down the road? Because we all know that Paulie does not like Conor McGregor at all. And there was the little sparring footage that came out. So.
All right. Welcome back. And we're back with another special treat. You just had world-renowned trainer Nazim Richardson, and now we're going to bring on the Magic Man, Paulie Malinaji himself. Paulie, good morning. And once again, thank you for taking out the time to discuss a little bit of boxing here with TBV in the morning. How are you doing? And what country were you in, my friend?
Hey, what's up, guys? Good morning. I was in Italy and England a couple weeks ago. I'm in New York now, so just chilling out, just waking up, man. How you guys doing?
Good, man. We woke up to this headline. First and foremost, I'll introduce you to my co-host, Michael Gross, hailing from Indiana, who's on the line.
How's it going today, Paulie? It's a very my pleasure meeting you, man. I'm a big fan of yours, and I just want to thank you for everything you do for boxing.
Thank you, man. Thank you for appreciating that. Also, guys, what headline do we wake up to? Because I'm just waking up. I haven't seen any headlines.
Perfect. I'll bring you up to speed. Tyson Fury says after he beats Deontay Wilder, he'll be staying in the U.S. to be the next pay-per-view star. So we're just going to hypothetically assume.
I saw this yesterday.
Yeah, we'll hypothetically assume he can beat Wilder on Saturday. Can you see what his next 3 fights would be in the U.S., I guess on Showtime, on pay-per-view?
I'm not sure. You know, Tyson is one of the entertainers of the sport. You know, he's not just a fighter. He's a guy who obviously will give you a quote. And he's the kind of guy who, when you're interviewing him, you never know what was going to come out of his mouth. So he's, you know, he's keeping you on the edge of your seat, both when he fights and when he's talking. Having said that, man, I don't know. You know, obviously, I think it's a very tough fight for Deontay. I think it's a very tough fight for Tyson. You know, you know, a lot of people are, I think, writing Tyson off. But I always tell people at no point before the Klitschko fight did I see any performance in Tyson Fury that let me think he was going to do that, what he did to Klitschko. So, I learned not to take him lightly again, But having said that, being a pay-per-view star in the U.S. there's a lot involved, and I think I'm not sure if a non-Latin at this point in time if a non-Latino at this point in time is going to have the push necessary to become a pay-per-view star in the U.S. I think the market dictates that kind of stuff, as well as obviously the intangibles the fighter may have. But a fighter may have all those intangibles and not have the proper market. And it's just in my opinion, but at this point in time, in 2018 going to 2019, I think the market has become to the point where to become a pay-per-view star, you gotta be mainly a Latino fighter first, because that's where the market, that's where the strongest part of the market is in the U.S.
Hello, Paulie. Mike here. Now I'm a fan of the Magic Hour, and I haven't heard one in a little while. But can you give me a breakdown on how Tyson Fury would win and how Wilder would win? I know you don't pick fights because you call them.
Yeah, first of all, with the Magic Hour, we're working on trying to bring it back, man. We're just kind of lazy and kind of pressed for time sometimes. We had to find a couple of different homes, but we're discussing with Showtime they're bringing the Showtime, the Magic Hour back. So we'll see if next year we can get that done, or maybe get in an episode before the end of this year. Having said that, the breakdowns for the fights, I think Fury, what he did well against Klitschko, and he's got to do some of the same things here. Change of range. Changing the range so that the fighter with a good jab like Klitschko or like Deontay now doesn't really find his comfort zone where he's got you on the end of his jab, so he can measure you for the big right hand. So I think changes of range are important. I think Tyson still has good legs. If he does, it's a big if, because you don't know how he's been living. He doesn't just have to move. He's got to be moving in coordinated ways, obviously. So I think the change of range is important, and I think he had a good counter right hand in the Klitschko fight a handful of times, and he showed that. And I think it caused doubt within Klitschko's own jab. And if you take away the lead hand from Vladimir Klitschko, it's hard for him to set up anything else. I think that's very important. I think if one thing we noticed in the Luis Ortiz fight, if you can take away Deontay's jab, he goes into some troublesome moments. I think the Ortiz fight showed us that Deontay will not accept defeat, though. Ortiz was able to take away Deontay's jab mainly because he's a southpaw, and he was able to use the southpaw stance and the southpaw experience to take away Deontay's jab. But Deontay found another way to land that big right hand. That was on a counter right hand, and then the follow-up obviously stopped Luis Ortiz in that round where the fight ended. So I think with Deontay, it's important that he doesn't get his jab taken away. I think it's important that he uses feints, and when these changes of range happen from Tyson, I think it's important to use it's important that if he uses feints, he causes Tyson to make false moves in these attempts of changing range and whatnot. And if you can make a guy make false moves, you can kind of hone in on him, because he's in a defensively vulnerable position, because maybe you feinted him out of position and made him make a false move and whatnot. So I think it's important for Wilder to find ways to not lose that jab. It's important for Wilder. It's kind of a two-edged sword, because not only does he have to deal with the possible movement of Fury, but he's also got to deal with the fact that Fury is a bigger, taller guy than him. So Deontay is going to be punching up a little bit, and the right hand is not going to be coming down this time. It's going to be coming up. So I don't know how much energy, how much power it loses when it's being punched up instead of down. But I do think Deontay's at his strongest when he's punching straight. Those follow-ups, those windmill punches, most of the time they're just follow-ups, or they are just punches he throws when he gets put out of position defensively, when he's in a defensive position. But otherwise, I think when Deontay's kind of set and he's using that jab, he's pumping that jab, and he's pumping that long right hand, I think that's where he's difficult to beat. So I think for Deontay, he's got to set the situation and set the momentum towards what he can dictate with the jab, so that he can have sort of his feet planted in there. And when he cuts the distance with that jab, he's able to extend that right hand and at the proper distance and land it.
Now, Paulie, am I wrong in interpreting AJ's mannerisms of, one, not wanting Wilder to enter the ring in his last couple of fights, two, now announcing that he will not be at the Wilder Fury fight? Is it wrong to interpret these mannerisms, that these things that he's doing, as him not wanting the fight, or being, I don't know, afraid to take the fight? I mean, you're a fighter.
I think
there's
AJ,
a lot of back and forth. I mean,
yeah,
Wilder's gone over there, called him a coward. Then you got Big Baby calling him, female genitalia. Like, when is this man gonna say something? I mean, isn't this fighting? Or like, I don't know. I'm interpreting it wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, absolutely. I think there's obviously a right to interpret it that way as well. I think AJ though has learned to become sort of a Derek Jeter of boxing, combat sports. He's very marketable. He kind of never falls into these kind of venom spewing type of spats. He never gets into them. He kind of keeps it classy. I think it's part of the reason why he becomes so marketable and such a marketing phenomenon. But having said that, yeah, I think there's an inner fighter in him. I think it's also a matter of negotiation. In business, fortunately and unfortunately, the person with the bigger leverage will always take advantage of the negotiation. So I think while they're not being happy with the way the negotiations went for the Joshua fight, he's obviously in the right, and he obviously has a right to say that he's not happy with the way the negotiations went. These guys are just trying to find a way not out of the fight. While on the other side, the Joshua side is going to say, we hold all the leverage, in the negotiations, and we're going to use that leverage, and we're going to force you to accept terms that are advantageous to us. It sucks, but it happens all the time in boxing. This kind of thing happens all the time in these kind of situations. It's just one side has to be able to bow down to the other side, and right now you have both sides that are kind of not bowing down to one another. So the negotiation kind of stalls. But in order for a fight like this to happen, one side has to give, and usually the side that gives is probably the side that wants it more, wants to fight more, and not for any other reason than money or anything else. Obviously that stuff comes, but I think whoever gives in on these kind of negotiations is usually the person that fight more, and they're like, all right, whatever I got to do, screw it. I want to be great, or I want to get in there. But it's tough because, you got to swallow some pride, and you have to kind of accept the fact that you are not going to dictate these situations. And also sometimes these type of things decide who's going to win the fight, because the person who has the advantage, sometimes that's all they need is to win that fight, is a small advantage. We're talking about world-class boxing where the differences in fighters sometimes is just a hairline, a hair, So these little advantages sometimes can cause the difference in a winner and a loser. So it's tough and it's a difficult situation. But I think Joshua just doesn't get involved with the spats, and he doesn't want to kind of feed into them until he knows the fight is going to happen. And I think he doesn't feel like that's going to happen. And I'll be honest with you, now with the different TV contracts, it's going to be much more difficult, in my opinion, to make these kind of fights. I think these TV contracts are great from one perspective, that they give fighters a whole brand new platform to be able to get paid more often, because you have the Zone now, you have Fox coming in, you have Showtime, you have ESPN with Top Rank. There's a lot of platforms that are paying big money for their fights. So if fighters can reach an elite level, there's a lot of options depending on who they sign with to get paid some good money. So that's probably more so than there has been in a good while in boxing. Even in the U.S. market. So I think that's the positive of it, but the negative is whatever side you align yourself to, a lot of times will probably prevent you from fighting a fighter on one of the other networks and whatnot. We're involved with the other networks. So I also think that's a stopping point, and I think Joshua, if being that nothing is moving in that direction, he's not going to involve himself in these spats at all. I think the big baby fight may actually happen at this point, because if the Wilder fight doesn't happen, we're hearing that AJ will probably fight Dillian White if White comes through the Chisora fight, and then which is a fight I'm supposed to work for Five Sky Sports at the end of this month, at the end of December, and then after that, maybe Joshua has an American debut against Big Baby. I don't know. I do have a sense that Hearn is trying to kind of use Big Baby as a guy who keeps winning, and when the American debut comes, he's a solid American name to put Anthony Joshua in the ring against. So I do see the Big Baby fight happening in the long run.
How big of a threat is Big Baby to Anthony Joshua?
How big of a what threat is Big Baby Anthony Joshua? I think Big Baby can hold it down with a good chin, because I think he's going to get hit. Big Baby likes to get in your chest and kind of work in there, and he kind of breaks you mentally. And I think that's the test for anybody who fights Big Baby. He's a big, massive guy. Personally, I like to see him lose a little bit of weight. I don't think it's very healthy for him to be that size. No matter his conditioning. Right now, his conditioning is great. Obviously we see it. No matter how big he is, he's able to throw all these punches and whatnot. But I do think that massive size when you are not fighting anymore, if you don't do something about it, you're going to give yourself a heart attack, So I think Big Baby, if he wants to live long, I think he needs to take better care of himself. But having said that, I think right now he's got the stamina to kind of give people issues. But he gets in your chest, and getting in the chest of Anthony Joshua is a bit of a risk because Joshua punches, and Joshua also finds spaces for those uppercuts, Having said that, if Big Baby is able to handle himself in Joshua's chest, he tests Joshua a lot because, he's the kind of guy who tests you mentally, makes you suffer through it because he's so busy and heavyweights aren't used to his work rate. And, he kind of puts you in a position where you're doubting yourself. We've seen Joshua come out of positions where he's doubting himself. The Klitschko fight, even the Povetkin fight, he was having some trouble, So we know Joshua has that dig down quality in him, unlike some fighters, aka Conor McGregor. But we'll with the Joshua and Big Baby fight, I think that's sort of the risk for Joshua, and the risk for Big Baby is, can Big Baby be in the chest of Joshua and deal with the hellacious shots that may come his way, mainly that Joshua uppercut, which he loves to throw from close range, and then if that is the case, can Joshua handle the in your face attack of Big Baby and the mentally debilitating attack of Big Baby, and also the physically debilitating. He goes to the body, he goes punches, he breaks you. So I think it's a good fight. You favor Joshua in the fight, but I think it's a good fight.
Now, Paulie, I guess this is where we're gonna let you shine and try to educate some of these sheep in the UK. Have you ever seen a super fight with a set venue, set date in place for negotiation? Oh, and let me throw in set network, because Anthony Joshua being on DAZN, I highly doubt he's gonna go over to Showtime.
Yeah, I don't see that happening either. I think DAZN has spent a lot of money on the contracts that they bought, on the deals that they made, and I don't see them making any exceptions for anybody. I mean, common sense. If you pay that kind of money to make a deal, you are going to obviously make sure all those fights are on your network. So it's difficult to it's basically you're in a position where you now have to. It's basically in a position where you now have to go to DAZN if you're going to fight Anthony Joshua. That's basically where the point where it's gotten to now because of the TV contract. And that's the negative side of having all these TV contracts, is now everybody is exclusive to the deals that they've made. I mean, DAZN has a $1 billion deal with Matchroom. They are not going to make exceptions for Anthony Joshua, who is the main Matchroom fighter.
I totally agree with that.
Mike, but just because you have more obviously knowledge than us, can you think of any other super fight that had a set venue? Let's throw out the network. Let's say Anthony Joshua somehow walks over to Showtime. Can you think of another super fight that had a set venue and date before negotiations start?
A set venue? No, I can't. But I do think that Hearn sets his venues ahead of time for Joshua because he has to. He simply has to. Joshua will sell out stadiums regardless of who he's fighting. So I think when it comes to AJ in the UK especially, I think Hearn has to set his venue ahead of time, and then whether Joshua fights Wilder or whether Joshua fights Joe Schmo, he's still going to sell out a stadium. So it's not really going to matter in that regard, and that's part of why Wilder's at the mercy of this negotiation. It's because Joshua can fight anybody and sell out a stadium. So you have to reserve the stadium regardless. And then of course the network is reserved because Joshua is under contract now with Matchroom, and Matchroom is under exclusive contract with DAZN in the US. So I think the venue. I can't say I've ever seen this prior to negotiations, but you can only put a Joshua fight in a stadium. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to fight, if it's going to happen in the UK,
But now, what happens if Wilder does 600,000 pay-per-views and he beats Tyson Fury? How does AJ claim A side and mandatory dictation of negotiations when in one single fight the money just doesn't equate anymore?
Yeah, I think at that point you have to go back and sit down at the negotiating table and bring your leverage to the table. Now Deontay can say, hey, he can take out his bag of tricks and say, you know what, I'm bringing this bag to the negotiating table, and that is that I just sold this many pay-per-views. We have to adjust this deal. And of course, from the other side, Hearn is not an idiot. You're going to say, okay, you know what, you're bringing some money to the table. There's more money in this than I realized. You know, you're more popular than I realized. Let's make this figure it out. But of course, that's if Deontay sells 600,000 pay-per-views, right? I mean, we're not at the fight yet. We can't assume those things. If my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle, but she's never going to have balls, so she's never going to be my uncle, you know? So we have to actually see this stuff before we can put it into play and put it into the context of a negotiation. Negotiations aren't made or aren't discussed on if situations. Negotiations are discussed on facts. So once that, and if that happens, then only then can that be talked about in a negotiating sense, especially by the two parties negotiating.
Absolutely. Now, Paul, I got a question for you. Now, it was a report that came out that 6 fighters did not sign up for vital testing, and Victor Conte came out and said that there will be no vital testing. Well, he hasn't heard that there will be vital testing for Spence and Mikey Garcia. Now, you were outspoken about the whole Canelo issue. How important is drug testing in boxing? And like, what can we do to make sure that these fighters adhere to these rules?
Yeah, I was outspoken about it, and I actually said in some interviews, I said this is the last time I'm ever going to criticize any fighter for getting caught on PEDs, because you are at the point now where you have to do PEDs in order to survive and get to the top, okay? Because all the guys at the top, I'd say 97% of the top of boxing is on PEDs. And if you're not, if you're one of the couple of percentage points that you're not going to last long unless you are on PEDs. You will be knocked off, you know, because the entire upper echelon of the sport is on PEDs. So when you say that, it may bother people to hear that, but now I'm at the point where I can't knock fighters for doing the PEDs, because if they want to have a career, they need to do the PEDs, because you reach a certain point in your career where you will reach the PED level, meaning you get to a point in your career where now you reach a certain level of opponent where every one of those guys is on PEDs. So you're now dealing with, not only are you dealing with world-class fighters, you're dealing with world-class fighters on PEDs. And maybe you've had world-class skills and you've shown world-class skills up until this point in your career. Well, now to get in there with these guys and deal with these guys, you have the world-class skills, but you don't have the world-class PEDs. So you've got to join the fray, unfortunately. And so that's what it's come to, because the testing is so poor, the cover-ups are so obvious, and the situation has just become dire. You know, I think PED testing is very important. I think this is blood sport. This is, you know, people die. This is the most dangerous sport in the world. You know, this is head trauma to the T. You know, MMA fans will disagree, but MMA fights, they don't deal with consistent head trauma throughout the fight. The 10 count actually hurts us in terms of safety, because in an MMA fight, you got a guy who gets a kick to his head, he wobbles, he goes down, the guy starts jumping on him, punching him in the face, and the fight's over. How much head trauma do they take? You know what I'm saying? Like, even a knee to the head, it's vicious, but it's a one-shot deal, you know? So boxing is consistent head trauma. You may go down, you have a concussion, you get up and you fight another 5-6 rounds. You know, it's consistent head trauma. It is the most dangerous sport. Obviously NFL players also deal with a lot of head trauma consistently as well, and they've done things to help that sport. I don't think you can help boxing, because the point of boxing is violence, you know? So you've got to deal with it in other ways. You got to deal with it with PED testing. You know, I actually, speaking of the NFL, I think their PED testing is horrible as well. It's poor as shit. You know, everybody gets a heads up when they will have their PED test. So all those guys are probably on PEDs as well. You know, so it's a situation where you want to really care about the safety. Stop with the bullshit rules. Stop with the hypocrisy about we got to change this rule and this rule and this rule. Stop with it's all bullshit. Okay, because if you really care about the safety, you'll start at the root of the problem. You'll start at the PEDs. Okay. And just like in the NFL, where the players from the 40s and 50s and 60s were living till they're 80 years old, and the players from the 80s and 90s are dying now, okay? And they change the entire premise of the NFL rules, where there's teams scoring 100 points a game now, because you can't touch a player anymore on defensively. That's such a hypocrisy to me, because they have the PED testing that is so poor, yet they change all these rules with the excuse of, quote, safety. But those guys from the 80s and 90s didn't die because of the hits were a certain way, because the guys in the 50s and 60s were hitting each other the same way. So why are they living till they're 80? Like guys like Frank Gifford and whatnot live till he's 85 years old. The guys from the 80s and 90s are dying now. Okay, it's the PEDs. And so the hypocrisy of changing rules and whatnot and discussing it without making a clear stand with the PED situation, it's something that doesn't even need to be discussed. It's such a hypocrisy. It's crazy. So boxing is the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Boxing will play like we need to work on safety. We need to work on this. We need to work on that. It's all bullshit. Nobody actually cares about safety. Nobody actually cares about anything. So they'll show this front like a politician when somebody gets hurt or somebody gets is seriously injured or somebody dies, where they have to fire the entire commission. They'll look to point the finger at everybody else. The finger is on PEDs. Okay, first and foremost PEDs. Boxing is a very violent sport. Boxing can be dirty at times inside the ring, and sometimes you do what you have to do inside the ring in terms of dirty tricks and whatnot. But being dirty outside the ring with PEDs should be unacceptable. But at this point in time, because it's become so poor, it's become so common to have to use PEDs. At this point, you have no career in boxing unless you're on PEDs. You have none, at least not a long one. And so I feel bad for the 2-3% of fighters that are not on them. And I'm not going to get into the situation of who's on it and who's not, because most likely, if you ask me a question of if this guy's on it, most likely he's on it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not going to, at this point, get to the point where I'm telling you specific names are on PEDs, but just think about it like this. I'd say over 95% of the sport is on PEDs, at least at the upper class level.
Well, wow. So I guess I have another one, right? Like Usyk made his, I guess, debut to the U.S. world thanks to DAZN in the World Boxing Super Series. He had the big fight with Tony Bellew. Now people are thinking he can move up to be a heavyweight. They want him to challenge the Joshuas and the Wilders. I'm thinking, can he really get past the Dominic Brazil? Now, I know Brazil's been losing most of his fights, but he has that dog, almost like a Wilder, where he doesn't want to lose. Now, that didn't shine through in the AJ fight, but, I mean, Usyk's no AJ. His punches shouldn't be able to hurt Brazil. How do you see that matchup?
I think it's a nice matchup to enter the fray, but I think it's just a matchup we'll just only be talking about, because, again, going back to the conversation we had before with TV contracts and TV deals and whatnot, Usyk has been signed by Matchroom, so he's going to be a DAZN fighter. Brazil is a PBC fighter, so he's going to be a Fox and Showtime fighter. So it's probably a fight that is going to be very difficult to make, and it's not big enough to go through all the negotiating hurdles of even attempting to make that fight, because there's too many hurdles in the way, and it's just not a mega fight. It's certainly an interesting fight. It's certainly a fight that would make for a fun night of boxing, but I don't see it happening. But I do think Usyk has to try out the second tier, the lower tier of the top 10 before he kind of starts even talking about the upper tier of the top 10 of the heavyweight division.
Now, Floyd Mayweather was recently in the news fighting a guy that's a kickboxer by trade, but it's going to be boxing on December 31st. Now, it came out that the fight was going to be off now. It's like reports have come back out saying that it's going to be back on. I just want your thoughts on that fight, and does Floyd need to hang it up?
This is like free money, man. It's not on your record. It's sort of a sparring session or whatnot. Yeah, sometimes sparring sessions get violent, but there's still bigger gloves, headgears, and whatnot. So you're not taking, unless you have prior damage to you, you're not really taking much damage, no matter how violent the sparring session is. So I think at the end, I heard it's going to be a handful of rounds anyway. So I think he's probably just getting paid and whatnot. I think you use your name to get paid, especially when you've built up a big name like Floyd Mayweather. I'm not privy to those negotiations, but for him to be doing it, and I know how much, I've been to Asia before. I know how much Asian money there is out there. Some of these guys have tons of money, so maybe he's being paid a ton of money for basically a harmless sparring session where, yeah, it may get violent and may get, exciting for a few rounds, but at the end of the day, it's just a few rounds, and it's sort of a one-off type of thing. So I don't know. I just don't look at it as that serious of a situation, but yet Floyd is able to get paid off of it. So, more power to him.
I got a real quick follow-up question. Now, you said that sparring sessions get violent. Can we ever expect to see Paulie finally test and see, does McGregor have those balls that he say he does?
But McGregor's sparring session was not as violent as most of the violent sparring sessions I've had in my career. I don't know what kind of pussy shit McGregor's on in his training, but when he said that after the sparring session that our sparring session was like a fight, I mean, it cemented the fact that he was a pussy even more, because I've been part of some heavy, violent sparring sessions in my boxing career, you know. And yeah, the McGregor sparring session had a lot of shit talking, and it had a lot of, you know, heavy punches thrown and whatnot. But in context with real violent sparring sessions of a championship training camp, it was not even close, you know. And like I said, if it was to that degree, I would not have been able to go 12 rounds. I was simply not in the shape to go 12 rounds in that kind of a sparring session. So when McGregor says it's been like a fight, and when his team says it was like a fight, that's how you know that's another part of the proof how you know these are all a bunch of pussies we're dealing with. Because how can you have a situation where it was like, quote, like a fight when I came off the couch and did 12 rounds with you? It can never be like a fight because I can't handle, quote, like a fight if I'm in that kind of shape. I will never be able to do 12 rounds in, quote, like a fight situation. There's no shot, you know? So in reality, I controlled the tempo and the pace of the sparring. He did land a couple of shots. You know, I landed some good shots myself. You know, I knew it was a lot of shit talking, and yeah, it was more fun to watch. It was entertaining even to be a part of. But I think you know, every 6 to 8 months, you'll get an announcement from Team McGregor saying that they'll release a sparring session, and then they don't. You know, I think you saw it last year that they said they'll release it after the Mayweather-McGregor fight, and all his fans, all his pussy fans, to jumping down my throat. Oh, now we're going to see the truth. Now you're dead. You see, they're going to release it. And of course, I already knew nothing was going to happen of the sort, you know. I think now we've seen the same announcement maybe in the past month and a half that the same thing was going to happen. They were going to release it. And as usual, I said, nah, they're not going to release shit because there's no way they can release shit, you know, because if you release them, your house of cards is going to follow. You know, you're going to see the real sparring session for what it was. You're going to see that the knockdown was just doctored footage of him changing the camera angle at the last minute to make it look like a knockdown when it wasn't. You're going to see the reaction of that. No, there was no reaction ringside when I went down. There was no reaction by the referee aside from no knockdown. And you're going to see what actually happened in the actual sparring session, which was nothing even close to what McGregor is trying to play out to. So there's no way they can play it. You can't doctor enough footage. You know, they're probably still trying to figure out ways to doctor it to where they can release it, you know? And so, you know, here we are, where they said in November they're going to release it, and all of a sudden everything went quiet again. So at this point, you have to probably ask yourself, if you're a Conor McGregor fan, you have to ask yourself, am I a pussy? And I'm going to answer for you. Yes, you're definitely a pussy if you're a Conor McGregor fan at this time. Absolutely, you are definitely a pussy because you are sitting there arguing on behalf of a pussy. You are sitting there defending a pussy, and you are sitting there still being lied to by a pussy, and yet you're still falling for it. Yes, so absolutely, as the proof now shows more and more, if you are a Conor McGregor fan, yes, I'm going to answer for you. Look, do some inner searching and admit it, you are a pussy. So having said that, you know, I don't think you're going to see the entire sparring session. They may figure out ways to doctor it some more a little bit, but there's 36 minutes. It's very, very difficult to doctor 36 minutes. So here we are a year and a half later. He's announced it several different times that he's going to release a sparring session, and that he probably goes back to the table and says, man, I can't release this. I haven't figured out, you know, we can't release this. We have to doctor this more. And his guys are probably like, bro, we're not Steven Spielberg. We can't doctor this any more than we can doctor it, you know? So I think he can't release it, and I don't think he will release it.
Paulie, like
And of course, he's not gonna fight me.
I've always been a strong believer and adamant with what I'm about to say next in terms of you and Conor, and that being a legitimate fight. If he were I think it only works if he says, I'm actually going to do a boxing career and Paulie's my next fight. There's storyline there, but I think that it's even more realistic, and I just want to know, have you ever floated that idea to maybe Espinoza or Eddie because of your relationships with Matchroom and Sky and all the money DAZN is throwing out? I mean, even Showtime and Fox have over 120 million, and I feel with Conor and Mayweather doing, I don't know, 4-5 million, it's fairly safe to say Conor versus Malignaggi could at least get to 701 million, I think. I mean, he just did 4 or 5 with.
Yeah,
I think it's
2 million, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. I think here's the thing. Both Espinoza and I've floated the idea of Espinoza, and obviously he's interested. And Eddie Hearn has floated the idea to me, you know. And Hearn actually spoke to McGregor himself. So here's what McGregor is going to do his next fight. He's going to take a comeback fight against Donald Cerrone, a guy who's past his prime, who's a decent fighter, but past his prime and whatnot, because he needs a W, okay? So he's now going to take less money than he would fighting me. And there is absolutely no shot that he can make more money fighting Donald Cerrone than he can fighting Paulie Malignaggi, okay? So, again, when you need proof that this guy's a pussy, here's some more proof for you, okay? If the sparring was like he claims it was, why would you take so much less money to take a comeback fight? Because you need a W. Because at this point, you're a combat sports pinata, and I'm going to keep cementing the fact that you are combat sports pinata, but that he is combat sports pinata. So he needs a dust-off fight, a W, so to speak, you know, so he can stop this image that he's the official punching bag of combat sports, you know. So if you need a W, and it was that easy for you in the way you're claiming things were, why would you not get the W in the highest paid fight you can get? And that's the Paulie Malignaggi fight. Because at this point, let's face it, he's not going to get Canelo. He's not going to get Mayweather. He's not going to get anybody else he's not going to get Khabib again, that's for sure, you know? So you know, none of this is even worth talking about. The most lucrative fight out there is a Paulie Malignaggi fight for Conor McGregor. Yet he chooses to fight Donald Cerrone. He chooses to fight Donald Cerrone and take a pay cut just because he needs a W. You understand what I'm saying? And that's no disrespect to Donald Cerrone, okay? But his best years are behind him. You know, and good for him if he's able to get the fight. I wish him the best and whatnot. There's no malice towards Donald Cerrone. But I'm trying to let you into the psychology of this pussy McGregor that, you know, he just keeps proving me right and right, more and more right every single time. And he can't really announce the fight with myself as like having a boxing career, because he knows himself it will be the shortest boxing career in the history of sports, you know? So, you know, he can't announce it because then it would just look even worse if he announces it that he's going to embark on a boxing career and then gets knocked out by Malignaggi, because then there will be no career. It will be another one-off, you know? So, and now he would have to live with the fact that he was talking about a boxing career, you know? So I don't think he'll ever discuss a boxing career because he knows he can't have a boxing career. He'll be everybody's official piñata, you know? So I think at the end of the day, you know, actions kind of speak louder than words. And you can kind of see the actions of McGregor and which way he's leaning and all this stuff. And you can kind of ask yourself why he's acting a certain way or why he's doing certain things. And you can probably, if you're even a little bit smart, you can probably figure out the truth behind all this, you know. And again, you know, the footage, doctored or non-doctored, has gone quiet. So there will probably be no footage coming out again. Not that I was ever shocked by it. The full footage was never going to come out. And then you have now that he's looking for a W, a comeback win, and the rumors are he's going to fight, you know, a lesser fighter, you know, a fighter that in MMA who's past his prime, fighter who's been a decent fighter in his own time, but definitely not a guy who at this point in time is supposed to beat McGregor. Anything can happen, but he's not supposed to beat McGregor, you know, and he'll take less money for it. I think at this point you probably realize the level of pussy we're dealing with, you know, because and the level of games we're dealing with if you've fallen for these games. But it's not up to me to convince anybody anymore. I've basically given people all the proof they can get, you know, including on the knockdown footage. You know, it's not even like it's even close. You know, look at that view that footage and view it well. Notice the change of camera angle at the very, very last instant. You know, he does that so you eliminate the fact that my feet are falling off off balance. You know, no punches even land in that little that moment. You know, the punches that landed were from a different round. The little right hook, it doesn't land because my head turns with it. But even if it does land, that's not a shot that gets any weight on it. Come on, guys. I mean, anybody who knows boxing, you know, his back foot's off the ground. He's got his weight on his front foot. He's kind of pivoting on his front foot. He looks like a ballerina when he throws that little right hand hook. You know, so even if it was to land, it's a smack. Come on, guys. You know, so there's just so much proof that, again, I've gone over and over again to the point where at this point we can't really, you know, if you're not going to be convinced, then it's because you want to believe what you want to believe. But you know, he's not going to fight. He's not going to do anything. He's just going to keep playing on it because people are stupid enough to believe it. But if you're stupid enough to believe it, like I said, you need to do some inner soul searching and understand, yes, you are a pussy. Not that you probably are, not that you most likely, yes, you're definitely a pussy. You're a Conor McGregor fan at this point, knowing what you know about this guy at this point.
Pay-per-view predictions, Paulie. How many you think it does if you ever get that fight with him?
No, I don't think it does less than $1 million. I don't think it does less than $1 million. I think it probably does a little more, but I don't think it does less than $1 million.
Garcia Spence?
I think just talking right now, it probably does $1 million, but that's without any of the promotion. You know, then you go through the press conferences, the press tours, and whatnot. I'm the best trash talker in boxing. There's nobody. Have you ever seen anybody out talk me and trying to trash talk in sense in press conferences or anything? I'm the best trash talker in boxing. You know, I'm just a little older and I don't do it as often anymore. But you can't beat me in trash talking. You know what I mean? It does $1 million now before the trash talk starts. You know, it does $1 million now before the press event starts. So without a doubt, it sells.
And Spence Garcia.
Spence Garcia, I am going to say between 750, and I'd say between 600 and 800.
Wilder Fury.
600 and 800. Between 350 and 500.
And Broner, your nemesis versus Pacquiao.
That's my side chick.
No, Braun is my guy, man. Braun is my guy. Hey, that's actually a fun fight. I do think that can get more than the other ones. I'd say Broner and Pacquiao can do between 800 and 900,000.
And my final question from you, Mr. Malignaggi, did you by chance see the Spence and Crawford run in, and what's your thoughts on it, real quick?
Oh yeah.
You know, it was, you know, I think it's good for TV and whatnot, a good trash talking, and you know, there's not really any thoughts on it. You know, again, it's one of those fights where you want to see it, but the divide of the network deals will probably prevent it from happening, at least for the time being. But hey, it's nice to talk about it, and they're both very good fighters, and you know, you hope that the discussion stays alive, so that for long enough time that, you know, eventually it can happen. But I don't think right now it's going to happen.
As a boxing fan, don't you want that encounter for Wilder Joshua?
Yeah, of course. Everybody wants to do that kind of stuff, but it's I don't know. You know, it's interesting because I don't see I don't see Joshua kind of looking for that. If it happens, it happens. But Joshua kind of does things to avoid certain situations because he's got the image he has. And don't get me wrong, man, there's a dark side to Joshua. You know, he comes from the streets. He comes from, you know, a place where, you know, there's evil in him as well. I think all fighters need to have that sort of evil inside them. But you know, he learned to you know, mature out of it and come out of it. But it comes out of him in a fight situation. You know, I think Joshua has that in him, but I don't think he goes out and searches it out and to wind up in these situations, you know. But Joshua definitely has that street in him.
And my last question: since Keith Thurman has came back, should the fans and the media start respecting him more and start noticing that he is the man at 147 because he has the best resume at 147?
You know, I think the respect Tara should be, you know, bar none, the respect should definitely be given to Keith Thurman for his accomplishments and whatnot. But fans are very fickle, and I think everybody understands and realizes that. When you get to that point, I think people want to, unfortunately, have the "what have you done for me lately" routine. You know, let's see if Keith is the same fighter he has been, because the fighter he has been is a very dangerous fighter. And I think now when he's going to come back from the injuries and whatnot, I think we'll see if he is the fighter he's been. You know, the welterweight landscape has sort of changed in the time that he's been gone. Boxing, the landscape changes quickly, you know. So let's see how he comes back, how he looks, and we'll see if you know, he's still the kind of fighter that everyone remembers him as. People will, believe me, fans are fickle. If he looks great, people will jump all over that. You know, if he doesn't, people won't jump all over it. That's the fickleness, if that's the word I'm looking for, fickleness of sports fans.
Well, Paulie, I want to thank you, obviously, for taking out the time to talk a little bit of boxing with us, man. It's always a pleasure to, you know, have you drop some jewels and just soak in some of that knowledge. Wish you the best in all future endeavors. Can't wait to see you back on Showtime commentating. And I know you're going to be doing something over on Sky, but thanks again for your time.
Yes, thank you for your time.
I'll be on Showtime this weekend for Wilder vs. Fury, and I'll be on Sky for a White Bush Resort at the end of the month.
Yeah, thank you for your time. And whenever that McGregor versus Malignaggi training camp happens, let us know.
Yeah, word up. We got to get a camp live for that.
Yeah. I doubt the fight happens, but yes, yes, you guys will know if it happens.
All right, Paulie. Again, thank you and take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, there you have it. Showtime analyst, commentator, Sky Sports commentator, boxing. Is he a Hall of Famer? I don't know, but definitely a man in the sport that you need to just pay attention to. So much knowledge. Paulie has been in this sport for some time. He's done the unthinkable, multiple division champion. Dude, he's even gone overseas to the Ukraine and defeated Sinchenko for a title. Like, when people thought, he was done, he still came back with a welterweight belt. Like, and then he's always keeping it honest, man. It was just a great interview, great episode. If you enjoyed this episode, hit the thumbs up button. Definitely tell a friend to tell a friend. We had 2 great guests on. Share this episode. Make sure you tag some of the fighters that were spoken of on this episode. Tag maybe Paulie and Nazim. Let them see their own work. And go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say, has there ever been a fighter that wasn't necessarily a guarantee Hall of Famer, but then they changed over to the broadcasting career and did like pretty much the same kind of job that they did within boxing? Like, they done a great job boxing and done a great job commentating.
Yeah, I mean, look, he might be he might get in, because he could be probably, nominated for like you said, broadcasting or whatever. I mean, it doesn't matter, because I don't want it to, go down the wrong route. Like, regardless, he's, to us, to me, he's definitely top of the food chain. His word is always respected. Ever since he's become a commentator on Showtime, I've only wanted to see more and more of him, because he keeps it real while he's actually calling the fight. And that's what you want. You don't want these guys that are there to be yes men to the network. So shout out to Paulie once again, just definitely giving us his time. And shout out to you guys rocking out with TBV in the morning. Just want to remind you, we're also going to be having I don't know if he's a Hall of Famer. See what I'm saying? I don't know, but maybe he is, right? But we're going to be having Larry Merchant later today, live on the show at 3 p.m. And listen, if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel already, do so, because I got tons of interviews lined up. So we might sneak another one here in about a half an hour to an hour. You just never know. It's best to be subscribed. And we're bringing these guns locked and loaded. I mean, we're going to be making sure that we get some valuable boxing opinions on each and every episode possible. So look forward to more of these jam-packed interview shows. Mike, let's take some callers before we wrap things up. So before that,
remember to rate us 5 stars on iTunes.
It's like one of the most bestest ways to support TBV. It costs you absolutely nothing, and rating us 5 stars on iTunes only
90 seconds
only ensures that TBV remains the #1 boxing podcast in the world, and only you can do that by dropping us that 5-star review. Also, since we're talking about ways to support the show absolutely free, don't forget to head on over to ThaBoxingVoice.com/affiliate sponsors. Plenty of affiliate links there that you can click on and show your support to TBV absolutely
60
free.
seconds.
The one that I live and die by is that Amazon link. Bookmark it, share it, save it, use it continuously. It costs you absolutely nothing, but Amazon will send us a little kickback, and me and Mike can go to more camp lives, do more interviews, bring you more content. So just find a way in your heart to support the show, whether that be hitting the thumbs up button, which helps with the visibility of the show, subscribing to the YouTube channel, helping us get to 100,000 before the year being out. So we're going to go out to the callers, 1-425-569-5241. Press 1 time to voice your opinion right here on the Voice of the People hotline. And don't forget, you can
10 seconds.
Call us up on Skype. All you got to do is, Skype us. Don't type in the chat when you can Skype. Add Nestor Gibbs on Skype.
These calls are brought to you by El Camino Electrical Services, experts in electric vehicle charging stations. For consultations and turnkey installation, visit us at elcaminoelectricalservices.com.
Going out to Rod in North Carolina. What's going on, brother? Good morning.
Good morning, man. You had a day off, man. I'm glad I had the day off to tune into this show, man. That's a good show. It's a good show. And you and Mike, y'all do a good job asking the right questions. I really think y'all are real good when you interview someone because you really ask important and the right questions. What I had to say though is what you guys think is a bad number for Deontay Wilder this weekend for pay-per-view, and your thoughts on the All Access that Showtime is doing. I kind of 50-50 on it. I wish they could do a little more or show a little more. I just want to get y'all thoughts on how that's going and what kind of number would be bad for Deontay going forward in negotiations. And I'm also trying to digest Paulie's PED comment about so many fighters being on PED. That's kind of disturbing to me. I want to get y'all thoughts on that, and I'll take it off the air.
First thing was the Wilder number. I thought a bad number was what Paulie said, 350 and 500,000. I didn't like that number at all. So I think a bad number is right between there. I think anything above 450 is good.
And if I'm not mistaken, based on my conversation with Steven Espinosa, head of Showtime Sports or president of Showtime Sports, I believe he told me 400,000 is their safe number for the Wilder Fury. So yeah, I'm gonna start with 400. You know what I mean, and hope for a milli. Actually, I got that sound, but yeah, I'm gonna start with 400 and hope for. Know what I'm saying? That's what I'm.
Access, I thought was pretty good. I mean, I've enjoyed both episodes, to be honest with you. I think they give a good insight on how these guys really think and how the guys really kind of live. So I'm happy with it.
Mike, why you ain't come out on All Access, B?
I don't know, man. I might be in the epilogue or something. You never know. We still got one left. We still got time.
Damn, they cut dudes off. Wayne in the chat, 1 million Nest dreaming. Love all out. Yo, you a hater. That's the problem. See, I love boxing. When AJ has a fight, don't I do a live fight chat? Am I not screaming at the top of my lungs? That's the problem. The sheep only have a sheep mentality. I am a true boxing fan. I want the best for all of them. I want AJ to sell out. I want AJ to fight the best. It's just some of you guys want to hear about tickets and all this other fucking hoopla. But Mike, man, we killed it. We killed it, baby. We did a good show. Remember to share this on all your forms of social media. It is the top way to support TBV. Show me and Mike that you care about us being up in the morning, helping you get to your day jobs, helping you on your walks in the park or your long runs, you know? Shout out to everybody rocking out. Matter of fact, let's roll call it, man. We're going to go to Wayne the Hater, Scance Rants, Benjamin, Ricky, Augusta, Punch Quote the Hater, You Lad, Jonathan, Fat Apples, Tony Bangers, Easy Bands, Robert Blake, Mr. Falker the Third.
Why you say his name right there, bro? Robert Blake.
Because he's a hater.
Okay.
Chris Brown, Fahim. Damn, Fahim, old school. What up, Fahim?
Hey, Big Baby said so early. Shit.
I know. But he out here posting and shit in the morning. Know what I'm saying? He should have been on. He would have heard what Richardson said about him. I was trying to get Big Baby on. You see, we always working, man. Hashtag always working, B. Never sleep. Sleep is the cousin of death. You heard me?
I might send him the
die. I'd rather sleep when I die. Unlike Mike, always sleep. I mean, my man always sleep.
I wasn't on time today.
You always sleep.
I mean, damn.
But I fucks with Mike though. Mike single-handedly turned TBV all the way up. He started doing interviews and it's like, nah.
Bro, tell me why last night, bro.
I posted your
No, Joaquin, yeah, that's cool. But man, tell me why I had Anthony Yard lined up, bro. Like right after the show.
I know what
he got busy, so he was like, "Hey man, give me 15 minutes." 15 minutes passed by.
You fell asleep.
It was 20 minutes. It was like I fell asleep on his ass. So he hit me like
he understand you that he on the West Coast right now.
Yeah, so he hit me like 10 minutes after I fell asleep. Like, yeah, man, I'm ready. I got about 4:30, 2:30 this morning. Said, hey man, my bad. I fell asleep. If we can do it again, then we can do it again. We got a super chat from
out there. We're gonna be out there in LA, you know what I'm saying? So we're gonna get with them, we're gonna get with everybody, you know.
Did you read all of the super chats?
We're gonna make it do what it do. But yeah, well, we didn't. We only got one super chat. It just came in from Scant Rants. So shout out to you. Very odd that we had this phenomenal show and only Scant Rants showed some love, but it is what it is. Like I said, man, there's tons of free ways to show love, which hitting the thumbs up button, sharing the show, telling somebody, hey, did you hear Paulie Malignaggi on the TBV? Did you hear Nazim Richardson on TBV? You know, using the Amazon hyperlink. Plenty of ways to help this show continue to grow and reach that 100,000, man. We trying to listen. Yo, Mike is ready to move to the East Coast, Mike. Tell these cats you ready.
I'm trying to get in there, man. I got like December and January with this cool shit, and I'll be done.
He coming, man. I'm telling you.
How hard it is to fucking do a last semester of school because they try to give you the fucking hardest class last or whatever, I guess, and do this fucking interview and shit. But hey, I'm getting it done, baby. No excuses.
Don't forget, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we will have Larry Merchant. You want to ask Larry Merchant a question? You wanted to ask Nazim Richardson a question? Well, you got to be a Patreon member. Head on over to patreon.com/ThaBoxingVoice and join our Ask a Fighter series where whoever we interview as a member, you get the ability to ask them a question. So for those that want to ask Larry Merchant a question, you know where to go. All right, I am your host, Nestor Gibbs. Find me on Instagram and Twitter at NestGTO. And like I keep saying, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel because you just never know when Mike is going to get the itch and want to come right fucking back.
You follow me on IG at Gross1911 or follow me on Twitter at Gross2312 and stay tuned all week, man. We're going to do some live shows from LA. We're going to do some more interviews today, and I got some shit popping tomorrow, so stay tuned.
Hey, man, and Wayne, we would love Matt to be on and ask some questions. You know what I'm saying? He's just got to get used to the 9 a.m. Morning show. It's kind of an East Coast thing, so, it is what it is until he sets that alarm. Maybe he makes the Larry Merchant one. That'll be, 12 o'clock his time. But, yeah, peace. Arrivederci.
Peace.